Yesterday, the persistent and annoying social engineers succeeded in achieving another strike against Crowdsource the Truth's main YouTube channel, the Jason Goodman YouTube channel. And so there's no live streaming on the Jason Goodman YouTube channel until March 2020. I'm able to kind of sidestep this by using the premiere function on YouTube. So some people may not notice a difference, but you know, this is an effort that's being made to try to stop Crowdsource the Truth from bringing you true information, from bringing you the guests that we bring you. I mean, certainly if someone feels that anything that I am saying is untrue, boy, it's really raining. It's starting to rain. It was just drizzling a little bit, but it's gonna be really crappy weather. I'm walking back from somewhere, so I guess I might have to get on the subway, but we'll try this in the rain. Doesn't make sense to me that this strike would be able to be brought back. It was already overridden last month. I think what may have happened is the alleged fat slob, those are not my words, that's the accusation from a civil lawsuit against this individual. The alleged fat slob who issued the strike, it would seem, perhaps, maybe, I don't know for sure, but he might have spent 2 or 3 days poring over the new YouTube terms of service and perhaps found something in there that he could use to his advantage to reissue this strike. It's strange because YouTube is not giving me the same legal options to counteract the strike, to do a counterclaim against the strike. I'm not sure why that is. And it's just so difficult to communicate with YouTube. You know, I don't know. It's possible that I might not be able to overturn this one. We might have no live streaming on Crowdsource the Truth until March of 2020. That's interesting when we consider that this alleged fat slob has dedicated so much of his time to spreading false information about me. Why would he do that? Why would somebody worth so much money be interested in what I'm saying? If you don't like what I'm saying, change the channel. If you think I'm lying, present evidence to contradict what I'm saying and prove me wrong. This strike against that's a nice looking Mustang. This strike is a fraudulent strike. That's not a copyrighted image. It was publicly released on Facebook. This fool made a video about all kinds of his own conspiracy theories about how I obtained the image. I just went onto Facebook and got it. And we were showing it as part of a report about how strange it is that this person, who is a self-admitted vendor to the CIA, he said that on television, not me, created a piece of software and he said the CIA is one of our customers. That was in the 1990s. Now, I mean, I think about customers that I had in the 1990s in the 3D business. I actually had a phone call this morning from an old friend of mine from LA, not from the 90s, but a guy in the 3D business. I'm not going to go into the details of what he was talking about, but you know, you have these business relationships with people and maybe they grow. If the guy was doing business with the CIA in the 1990s, maybe he's still doing business with them now. What business is he doing with them? I don't know. But we've heard a lot from a lot of different people about some of these social engineering applications, systems, combinations of hardware, software, and people. You know, you look at something like Facebook, right? What is Facebook? Is it a company? Is it a program on your computer, on your phone? Is it you? Is it your friends? It's all of these things. It's a combination of software that the people at Facebook write. Look at this. This is something. A new building I haven't seen before. But Facebook, it's a combination of software. And you know, it's software for the internet, it's software for the phone. It's hardware, right? You need your phone to do it, or your computer, right? And it's people, it's you, without your content, without your friends' content. Look at this, Oxford. Can people see that? Mirror image, Oxford. There's so many interesting things just walking around New York City. This is going to be a pretty long walk and talk because I'm traveling from somewhere fairly uptown to somewhere fairly downtown. Look at this. This is like a little courtyard here in this office building where people can eat lunch and stuff. I think it's going to let me out over there. Yeah, actually, I've walked by here before. I see people having their lunch out here during the day. I used to do more work up here around, you know, Midtown, Uptown, that sort of stuff. I barely get up here anymore. But so Facebook, right? Social media network. It's you, it's your friends, it's the software, it's the hardware, it's the data. Okay? So we heard from Patrick Berge about the shadow net that was created using taxpayer money to use social media, IIA, interactive internet activity, is that what it was that he called it? IIA, to basically control the population in Iraq, in Afghanistan, whatever they were doing there. Patrick told us about how that technology then became the property of Jim Jones, Barack Obama's former national security advisor. It's interesting. They created that company ClearForce that Patrick told us can be used to create predictive models about what employees might engage in behavior that would make them a risk to your organization. So, you know, what Patrick was telling me causes me to think about all the stuff that David Hawkins talks about. Kinetic North America, social media protection appliance, social engineering protection appliance, and that shows a network with people sitting at computers using social media software. I mean, the point is, just like we had MySpace and Facebook, and then you've got Twitter, which is a different kind of social media network. There's all these different versions of this kind of thing, but they can basically gather information about people. They can allow the operators of this software to inject themselves into other social media networks like perhaps YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and do things. What are those things? Maybe they can control thousands of accounts. Maybe they can, you know, learn things about those social media networks that allow them to launch attacks like striking YouTube videos. Let's make no mistake, the strike on the YouTube video is an assault on Crowdsource the Truth. This is my business, this is my livelihood, this is how I'm trying to earn a living. I like to try to choose businesses that I enjoy, that are productive, that make things that people can enrich their lives with somehow, whether it's entertainment or education or information. You know, people have miscategorized what I'm doing as being just for the money. That's not true. People do things just for the money when the things that they're doing are reprehensible and they need money. That's different than trying to create a successful business that has a right-headed purpose. Of course, I want to make money. It would be pretty pointless to do all of this and subject myself to public ridicule, all the false stories that these social engineers have put out, including the alleged fat slob, who has for months perpetuated a completely false story that I had anything to do with the Maidan Revolution in Ukraine. He has no evidence of that. And here's one of the most important things I want people to remember. It is not incumbent on the accused person to produce evidence to prove that they're innocent. That is not how the United States of America works. And that is not what people should be subjected to. I fundamentally object to that. All of the Field McConnell fans and all of the Able Danger lunatics who have been putting in ignorant comments, and I use the word ignorant, it's not name calling, it means that these people are ignoring the facts. They're unaware of the facts. People who go and put in ignorant comments and claim that people like William Murtaugh and Kim Picasio haven't proven that they're innocent, those people should be ashamed of themselves. There is no obligation for an accused person to prove their innocence. That's Robert Mueller's tactic, that they accuse the president of something and then he's got to go prove that it's not true. That is not the way this country works. People fought and died so that each of us could be presumed innocent until proven guilty. Okay? And I'm jumping around topics here a little bit, but Field McConnell is in jail right now, to clarify for people, because he violated a permanent injunction issued by the state of Florida. Some people have said, well, why doesn't this woman, Kim Pacazio, take Field to court? Because she doesn't need to. She's already been to court over the lies that have been disseminated by Timothy Homseth. And the court found that Homseth provided no evidence, no valid evidence. You know, him recording phone calls or him filing police reports, that is not evidence of anything other than his own writing. Okay? He hasn't presented any evidence. Just because we think Broward County is corrupt doesn't mean that every single person there is guilty of whatever Timothy Homseth or Field McConnell says. Last week, William Murtaugh told us about how these social engineering operations destroyed his $3 million a year business, cost his employees their jobs. One of his employees lost their home. This is not a joke, okay? So when alleged fat slobs in New Zealand, who are allegedly worth $70 million, become interested in what I'm talking about to the extent that they're persistently putting in fraudulent strikes, persistently trying to intervene in a fraudulent lawsuit via fraudulent means, it's interesting, it's curious. I wonder why these guys are so interested in what I might be doing. What could I be doing that would attract the interest of a person like that? Obviously something. And why are they lying about me? Incidentally, there is a tie between the alleged fat slob in New Zealand and Field McConnell, because he wrote the article that was published on the Able Danger website that I demanded Field provide evidence for or else take down, and Field refused. So Field McConnell was supporting lies about me. Now, I don't hold a grudge against Field McConnell. I had just turned my back on him and walked away, and it was ignoring him, let him do whatever he wants. As long as he's not bothering me, I don't really care. But then it came to my attention that he was harassing this woman, Kim Pacazio. And that only came to my attention because I found the lawsuit that Timothy Homseth had filed against her and William Murtaugh, my guest last week, gave, I thought, a very informative interview. William Murtaugh is a guy who is, video blogging about real crime and stuff like that. He's done some really interesting things. And Timothy Homseth, for reasons that I don't know, decided to ruin these people's lives with lies. And I've taken up their defense because the same thing is happening to me, and Timothy Homseth is connected to some of the exact same people. Namely, the lawyer that represented Timothy Homseth is also representing Robert David Steele in a lawsuit against me that I've said many times is a fake lawsuit, a fraudulent lawsuit based on lies. So this is an interesting and twisted set of circumstances. We're getting to the Christmassy portion of the video here. I don't know if people can see, it's very foggy today, but there is St. Patrick's Cathedral. Get a lot of people getting up on me here. We're getting to the touristy part of town. If you're thinking about coming to New York right now, you're going to get a good eyeful of what you can expect. I guess the poor weather today is maybe reducing the crowd, but normally this part of town, this time of year, it's going to be shoulder to shoulder over here. Oh, so this is Victoria's Secret, so Les Wexner style. People can see the windows. This is window. I don't know what you call it. Window dressings, Christmas. We've got all the stores. What was that? Got all the stores along here. My glasses are really getting rained. Yeah, so, it's curious to me. Robert David Steele is publishing articles that are favorable of Timothy Homseth. Timothy Homseth, with zero evidence whatsoever, is accused the Vice President of the United States of being involved in human trafficking, pedophilia, whatever it is that he said. Robert David Steele echoes those same unfounded comments. Why? Why? I don't know. I mean, I'd love to see some evidence if that's true. It'd be nice for them to have some evidence to back up an allegation such as that, but there's been none. So yeah, I became aware of Timothy Homseth from finding this lawsuit. Homseth versus Pacazio, Murtaugh, and Gower. And Gower is nowhere to be found. Nobody knows who she is, but she's in Virginia. So that's interesting because that allows Mr. Biss to have the venue for the lawsuit coincide with the venue where he has a license to practice law. It's interesting how he chooses to do that. Seems all of his lawsuits involve some, straw man, operational plant, whatever you want to call it, that for whatever reason managed to place the lawsuit in Virginia. Twitter is fighting him on venue. They're saying that the venue has got to be California. Let's look at this. People are going to find this interesting. I don't know what any of this stuff means. This is Cole Haan. They got some, what does it say? Tobacco, sugar, coal, salt. What are we looking at here? Fish, cotton, wool, and wheat. Oh, look up there. What does that say? Dieu et mon droit. Somebody's going to know what that means. I guess, I don't know if we can see the coat of arms. Let me step back here. Maybe we can see that better. I walk by this all the time. I have no idea what that is. Let's see if people can make that out. Dieu et mon droit. What's going on there? Incidentally, I guess this building is part of Rockefeller Center. That's where we are right now. That's where the big tree is. I know a lot of people have a lot of feelings about the Rockefeller family. I guess this all must, I don't know, must have something to do. Let's make our way over here. So it's a lot less crowded than usual. But here, let's take a look. There's the tree. Merry Christmas, everybody. This is really nice. I used to, every year for 21st Century 3D, I would come over here and do a 3D photo of this. Whoops. Stabilizer's going crazy. So there we go. And then that's 30 Rock right there. Whoops, NBC. It's interesting how it goes off into the fog. Let's go take a look at the tree. We'll get a closer look here. Everybody's here taking their holiday photos. It's too bad it's not snowing right now. That would be better. People might remember last year I did a show with Larry Nichols here. I think it was a little noisy for Larry. It's hit or miss sometimes with these mobile streams. I'm always looking for a way to make them better. But yeah, so we've got Stephen Biss. We've got his whole litany of lawsuits. They all seem to be against journalists and people who are raising information that's unfavorable to his clients. He thinks it's defamation, but there are certain key elements to defamation. We were talking about that just the other day. I forget which show, but the elements at that impeachment hearing. We've got some members of Congress who are lawyers. We've got some members of Congress who aren't. When they talk about the elements of the statute, there's certain things that need to be done. You can't just say, oh, this is abuse of power, we're going to impeach the president. There's got to be a crime. Abuse of power, there's no law against abusing power. It's just a vague term that, hasn't been defined. They haven't met the elements. And even these other things, if they talk about bribery, there's elements to that. This is a huge jam up right here. This is not, I think I got to retreat. We'll look at the tree going away. So that's going nowhere. Let's go around this. But people are getting an idea for what it's like to come and visit Rockefeller Center at Christmas time. Got the tree back there. Got 1 million people. It's a lot of people. And believe me, it would be, believe me, who says that? It would be a lot more people if it wasn't raining right now. Oh.
I didn't know where they went.
Look at those pine cones. Don't gold, like giant pine cones like that, have some strange connotation? I don't know. It's always symbolism. Sometimes it's nothing, sometimes it's something. But yeah, wanted to basically let everybody know that there's no live streaming right now. I'm going to try to challenge this copyright strike because it's invalid. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. I no longer have the counterclaim option. It's very strange. YouTube has changed how that all works. So it's a whole new playing field there. One way that people can help me challenge the social engineers and show them that they aren't going to win is to become a sponsor on patreon.com/crowdsource the truth or subscribestar.com/crowdsource the truth. I actually think that implementing this business model for Crowdsource the Truth is one of the reasons these social engineers want to shut me down, because it's very fair. It allows me to create this sort of loose, unaffiliated network of guests and co-hosts who come on the show, and I don't pay them, they don't pay me. They have their own Patreon channel, and the audience decides who gets to flourish. If you like a co-host, you can sponsor them. Almost all of my co-hosts have their own Patreon channels, and certainly the regular shows, they're always simulcast on the co-host's channel. There's so much great sponsor-exclusive content there. I think it's a great deal. For as little as $2 a month, you can watch videos with some of the most prominent alternative media pundits that are out there. And you're keeping independent journalism alive. You're showing social engineers that they can't control us. You're showing corporations that they can't control us. I was thinking about this. I was just talking to somebody about that Elon Musk Cybertruck, and setting aside what you think about Elon Musk. He did this demo where somebody threw a giant ball bearing through the window of the car, and I think the purpose of it was supposed to be that it would be undamaged, which didn't work. The window broke. But I thought it was still a pretty impressive demo. I think a regular car, that steel ball bearing probably would have gone through and ended up in the back seat. This one just sort of broke the window and fell to the floor. But the point is, a lot of the mainstream news was saying, oh, Elon Musk demo failed and Elon Musk stock's going to drop. Well, let's see. Aside from Viagra and MyPillow, who do you see advertising in the mainstream news all the time? Ford, General Motors, Chrysler, BMW, Volvo, Honda, Toyota. I don't think these guys want somebody new coming into the automotive industry with innovative ideas. Wait, who else do we know like that? 2 years ago when I showed up, somebody new, not trying to monetize through YouTube, innovative approach, innovative ideas. They don't like that. The traditional people like to push that out. It's the same thing I experienced in Hollywood when I showed up with my new 3D camera. I thought, hey, this is great, innovative, less expensive, everybody's going to want it. Not always the way it goes. Jimmy and Joanne Moriarty told us a similar story. They invented a technology that could have revolutionized the oil industry. It could have reduced oil prices by increasing the lifespan of an oil well through cleaning it up rather than destroying it and drilling a new well. But I guess the people in the business of destroying and drilling new wells didn't like that. So they ran Jimmy and Joanne out of town, then they went to Libya. You can catch up on their whole story. Got to watch Unseen Libya with Jimmy and Joanne Moriarty on Patreon and Subscribestar. So I really hope people will sign up. Really need your support. We don't know where YouTube is going to go in the future. I don't think what's happened to the channel has anything to do with Google or YouTube specifically. I think this is social engineers who, this is what they do. They're like hackers, right? They think like hackers. They're constantly banging on every point until they find a weak spot that they can go in. So it would seem alleged fat slob in New Zealand found something possibly to do with the new terms of service that allowed him to break in there and issue additional strike on a video that YouTube had already determined did not meet the requirements of a copyright infringement. And see, at that time, they said, well, alleged fat slob, you now need to present us with a lawsuit against this person for copyright infringement, and he failed to do that. He attempted to intervene in one of the fake lawsuits, but that was so far denied. So I don't know, maybe he presented some of that legal paperwork, said that it's pending, who knows, but this guy has a lot of time and energy to expend trying to destroy my reputation and my business with lies. But you see, he's going to have to come to court now in New York, or maybe not. He might just, stay where he is in New Zealand and do nothing. But we'll see. I mean, the rubber is meeting the road on several of these things. I'm being careful about what I say because, see, that's the other thing that they do is that they want to coerce me into saying things that they can then make videos about and make fake lawsuits about and stuff like this. So anyway, just wanted to put this video together. I knew I'd be walking by Rockefeller Center and the tree. I know people like to see sort of what's going on in New York, and I thought it would be, look at that, Chaz Palminteri restaurant. I don't think I knew about that. It's got to be owned by that actor. Yes, there he is. Interesting. Huh. I've never been there. Not an endorsement. I do like his movies. I'm not even sure what street I'm on here. But there's a lot of cool stuff around New York. I know people like to see these walk and talk videos every now and then. I do believe I'm only a couple blocks away from Times Square, but I can't really see comments while I'm doing these. But perhaps that's enough of a video for now. Wanted to let people know, no live streaming. If you want to stay up on the live streams, the best way to do it is to become a sponsor on patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth or subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Yes, we also have BitChute. You can see the videos on BitChute. Also have DLive. You can see the videos on DLive. Not the sponsor exclusive videos though. The idea is, you know, I cannot sustain a business where I make videos all day with no financial compensation. It's just simple math. And anybody who has a problem with that, you know, if you want to send me an email and have a reasonable conversation about it, we can. But be aware that just putting in a comment that says, oh, you know, paywall, or I can't afford it, or whatever, that doesn't help. No one cares. No one cares. I'm sorry if you can't afford it, but there's no obligation to watch. I mean, you know, I can't afford a Mercedes. I don't go over to the Mercedes dealership and tell them all about it. You just don't buy a Mercedes. So, oh yeah, and the other day somebody said information, paying for information. You're not paying for the information. Information is free. Making a show about information, however, costs money. Internet services, phones, computers, hard drives, lawsuits, all these things cost money. So if people enjoy the show and they want to see it continue, please become a sponsor. It's very, very important. We're going into 2020 and social engineers are trying to, oh look, it's SantaCon. We got people dressed up as Santa. That was the other thing I wanted people to see. I saw a lot more Santas on the way uptown. Maybe, I don't know. I think I walked by the SantaCon place because there was a whole line of people waiting dressed to be Santa. Look at this. Oh, it just changed. Well, this is a billboard. This is a billboard with digital ads, and they were just showing that dog whisperer guy who used to be my neighbor in LA. Wait, here's more Santas. Oh, Santa's smoking. That's not good. SantaCon. I don't really know too much about that, but whatever day of the year, every year, there's a lot of Santas walking around. Oh, I wanted to give some technical info about Patreon. Some people say, you know, there's problems with the platform. Right. Well, Brighteon, Mike Adams has Brighteon. Brighteon is good, but I love Mike Adams. I love Brighteon. It's just a little bit difficult for me to use. I have to manually upload the videos. I'm restricted to how many videos I can put on there. So I hope that Brighteon will continue to grow. I do want to get more active on posting on there, but you know, yes, these are all alternatives, but the only alternative that actually really helps me sustain the business is Patreon and Subscribestar. So I hope that people will join that and that these other alternatives will grow. So, couple issues. Here's what you got to know. Do not use the Patreon app. The Patreon app is not compatible with Vimeo, and I use Vimeo to deliver the videos to Patreon and Subscribestar because the idea is to avoid YouTube. The other thing is sometimes people go on there and they say there's no sound. Well, there are certain platforms, I don't know why, but when the video starts, it's got a very small thing that says tap to unmute. So you have to actually touch the video to take it off of mute, and then you'll get sound. I'm always monitoring the streams to try to make sure that everything is working properly. The other thing is in the lower right-hand corner of a Vimeo video is a little sound icon volume level indicator. It looks to me like more like the cell phone signal strength indicator on your phone, but you got to make sure that's turned up. The other thing is a lot of people say, hey, the stream isn't working well. So sometimes that occurs, but also people need to make sure that they have adequate internet speed at their location. And sometimes when I ask people to test their speed on speedtest.net or testmy.com, .net. Sometimes the speed is, 5 megabits per second or something pretty low. The videos are usually going out at about 2 megabits per second, and so if somebody else in your house is watching Netflix or playing video games or doing something that's bandwidth intensive, you might experience some slowdown, and I believe it's possible that Vimeo is not as good at automatically reducing quality to accommodate low bandwidth connections as something like YouTube. A lot of people are comparing alternatives to YouTube, and it's important that people understand that YouTube is a network that's been built over a decade with billions of dollars by one of the most powerful corporations in the world, and part of the way they're trying to suppress these alternatives is by making their things so good and free that it's virtually impossible to compete. So if YouTube doesn't want your channel to monetize, and YouTube is the dominant video platform, you're sort of screwed. We've got a little bit of a chicken and an egg problem. And this is why I am repeatedly asking people to become sponsors on patreon.com/crowdsource the truth and subscribestar.com/crowdsource the truth. It's the only way alternative platforms can grow is with your support. One other thing you can do on Patreon and Subscribestar if you're experiencing performance issues is you can click on the gear icon in the lower right-hand corner, which is right next to the volume icon. And that gear, it allows you to turn down the resolution. So if you're experiencing poor streaming or slowdowns or buffering, you can try reducing the resolution from HD to standard, like 540 or even lower, and you might get better performance. So those are just a couple of suggestions for how people can get some better performance when watching the sponsor exclusive videos. I always like to remind people, if you come to New York and you see this truck that is purporting to sell weed and candy, do not buy anything from them. That it's not legal to purchase marijuana in New York City, so I don't understand how that's able to operate. But also, they're selling fake. There is no marijuana in the candy that they're selling. People might recall I had a friend who died last year of leukemia, and he tried out some lollipops from that truck, and he's a bit of a weed expert. He said there's none in there. So do not patronize that, whatever it's called. I don't even remember the name of that. But they got vans everywhere. I don't understand how they're able to do that. Why don't the police just arrest those guys and take them away? Anyway, that's pretty much the video for right now. I am getting closer to HQ. We got Bryant Park right over there. It's another nice spot to visit around Christmas time. If it wasn't so rainy, I would go in there and we'd look at some of the vendors. They have a little sort of like European style Christmas market set up in there where you can, buy wool socks and, Christmas gifts of all kinds, holiday gifts, any kind of gift. But that's going to be all for right now. If you see crappy comments in the comments section, they're very likely social engineers. And if they're not, then those people need to keep in mind that if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything. The comments, posting your opinion in the comments, nobody cares, really. Maybe there are exceptions to that. You might have some funny little, joke or anecdote. Here's the Bank of China. I don't know if people care about that. Something came up with the Bank of China the other day. This whole building is the Bank of China. I remember when they were building this. It's a very unique building, actually. Let's see if we can get a view of it from here. What do we think of that? But, it's really best if we reserve the comments for factual statements. That was what I wanted Crowdsource the Truth to be about from the beginning. To try to, keep opinions and crappy statements out of it and just leave it all to evidence and facts. That would be best. So, rude statements aimed at my guests or me, statements of opinion, stupid statements like, oh, this guy's lying, this guy's a shill. That's worthless. That does nothing. If you have evidence, post a link to some evidence. Or better yet, send me an email, truth@crowdsourcethetruth.org. Send me an email, and if you've got something useful and interesting to say, I'm delighted to hear it. But if you just want to say this person's a hero and you don't know anything about the facts of what they've done, or the lies that they've told, that's not interesting. That's not wanted. That will get you blocked. That might even get you insulted back. Then people will say, ooh, ad hominem attack. Well, you know, you fight fire with fire sometimes. Anyway, with that, I hope everybody has a very lovely Saturday evening. Please become a sponsor. Please help me counteract the efforts of these social engineers. 2020, very likely to see some trials, perhaps, in some of these lawsuits. It's amazing. These guys started all this years ago. And look, if we look at this Picasio-Homseth situation, that's gone on for 11 years, Murtaugh said. So, I mean, you know, that's quite a thing for all the people who say, oh, you're just doing YouTube news for money. That is ridiculous. That makes no sense. All right, everybody, have a great Saturday. Thanks.